meta in England is just to like, yeah, go to school, get good grades, go to university, get a job, get married, have kids. Well, I don't want to be 40 years old looking back in my life and being like, I just did standard stuff. So League of Legends, gaming is just as weird as it sounds, but the main reason I live for.
Walking in, kicking it back. He does have the trap, but it's not enough.
Biggest snowball ever starting to come in. Miffy holds onto the flash for a few seconds, goes very, very low. Whoa!
I'm not too stressed about Maxlore because I remember last time I played him in the Gauntlet, he got demolished, so I'm not too worried about him.
Maxlore actually pulled all the way out of his ornament there. That was incredible from Splyce.
He plays like late game comps and just scales, and you know, he's 3k behind in 15 minutes. If he considers that smashing, then yeah, good for him. I've talked about trust exercises of Steven, you know, him knocking out my tooth, so obviously there's like big trust issues there. But the one thing I do trust this guy on is that if he has a winning matchup, he'll win his lane, no matter what.
That's a chase forward from Humanoid, and Gorilla is able to set Humanoid up once again.
Me and Gorilla, we are close friends in the team. I trust him a lot, and I feel he trusts me a lot.
제가 지금 믿고 따르시는 건 스티븐. 그 친구만 믿고 따라간다면은 저희가 이길 수 있지 않을까 생각합니다.
What I like about Norskeren is that he plays the same way, you know. He's not scared to go 0-10. That guy doesn't give a shit.
Kobbe and Norskeren against Humanoid Gorilla. I mean, there's no words really. Xerxe has like a month where he's really good. The rest of the time he's just like invisible, trash, bad.
If Maxlore was as good as his trash talking, maybe Misfits would have won something.
Welcome back for our match of the day, Splyce Up versus Misfits Gaming. Hello everybody, I'm Trevor Quickshot Henry, joined at the castle desk by Indiana, Froskurinn, Black, and boy, oh boy, was that a spicy pre-match video.
Yeah, a lot of smack talk back and forth. I think everyone got a good few jabs in. It didn't feel like it was heavily one-sided either way.
It's going to be interesting because the two final thoughts was, of course, from Maxlore calling out Xerxe and vice versa. And in my mind, this is going to be one of the pivotal players, each of them will be pivotal positions, thank you, for who's going to help out. Now let's turn our attention to the draft. Quick little update, Cassiopeia is the first champion to drop out at 100% pick ban when I look at the top three of Lucian, Urgot, and Cassio. Lucian and Urgot too, I think a lot about for these teams, and you can already see the Cassio and Draven joining.
Yeah, here's the thing. I expect that Splyce, because they picked blue side, are going to try to take away a lot of the firepower from Misfits in the bot lane. We've been saying it all week. You heard Maxlore talk about it just in that SOT right there, the match of the day or match of the week preview. It's all about Hansama and getting him a winning matchup. So I want Splyce to deny as many winning matchups in that bot side as possible.
Okay, let's see what they can do. Varus taken away, Draven taken away, Lucian off the table as well. But Urgot is open and available. Akali as well. You can see that Urgot has now been removed from the pool, but Lissandra is a question in my mind. Febiven yesterday had a phenomenal game, even though it didn't result in them winning this.
And it kind of feels like Aatrox, Lissandra probably the much higher priority champion that's left up. I would expect it to be the first grab. Karthus may be a big switch. Okay, here's the thing about the Karthus. While it's still a flex pick, we have seen Jizuke play it in the mid lane position. I feel like it's still so risky to priority pick the Karthus because it relies so much on having strong laners around it. If they get dumpstered in the lane phase by picking things like Jayce, having these strong 1v1s matchups, Xerxe won't be able to do anything on this champion.
Ooh, okay, so laning phase and the drop. Let's see where the rest of the direction plays out. One of the things we talked a lot about in the build-up was this bottom lane. You can see the bottom lane focus in terms of bans. We've seen a lot of AD carries picked in the phase 1. So do they turn their attention there now? Kai'Sa's still up, Ezreal's still up as well.
It puts pressure for Splyce to secure the Kai'Sa here because they don't want to just give Kai'Sa Alistar to Hansama or Gorilla, but because Misfits play also the Kalista with the Alistar, it's a lower priority for them. So we'll see if they take it now that it's given to them, or if they're willing to say, you know, we still have Kalista, we have Kai'Sa, we have Ezreal, you won't be able to ban and deny it, so we can actually grab something else here if we want.
I think it's very important to recognize that with phase 2, pick 1 being in Misfits' favor, they can play a little bit with the draft. Couple seconds left. Tahm Kench now picked up by Norskeren. I believe Gorilla ran that yesterday, if I recall correctly. So a little bit of a denial there. And pretty much as expected there. Kai'Sa, they don't want to run the gamble, didn't want to risk going suboptimal ADC for their comp.
But this is a very calculated response coming from Splyce. They knew that Alistar Kai'Sa was going to be a possibility, so by grabbing the Tahm Kench, they're saying that it's band-aid enough. We can give them this. We still have the option to grab things like the Ezreal. I would expect that Misfits would start to pinch that ADC pool since their bot lane matchup is so important for them, but they think Kench is enough to get them through it.
Okay, now you talked about laning strength and how this will impact Xerxe's jungle. Aatrox going to be pretty comfortable in most matchups. Going to be okay, I don't know.
I mean, it's always going to be a skill check.
DK is going to be a defensive support, so I'm not super confident we're going to get strong lanes just yet for Splyce.
I think the scary thing is that it is the Tahm Kench, and with Varus, Draven, Ezreal, and Lucian banned, you need some sort of ADC to pair with him that Kobbe needs to pick up to give him some push or kill priority, because right now you are saying that you're just going to give a free lane to Gorilla and Hansama.
Okay, so what direction does he go? I mean, Sivir, Kalista? If you want wave push, I mean, I don't know what options there are.
I actually really would like a Sivir. I think it also works very well with Karthus. It's kind of like between a rock and a hard place. You use the Sivir ultimate on the Karthus, he drops the Wall of Pain, and then you just smash people in between the Defile, the Skittles, and the Wall of Pain.
Okay, well, let's see if Splyce agree on whether or not Misfits have another option. The last two bans is going to be Victor and Ezreal, then the Olaf and the Sylas taken away. sOAZ, of course, ran that into Jayce yesterday, was one of the contributing factors for the loss, and now we need to take a look. What will Febi be running in that mid lane or Maxlore in the jungle? I expect Jayce to go top, but it could go mid as well.
It's a super easy, I mean, you have Kennen, Lissandra, or Sejuani picks left across the board, so it feels like we're still getting so many power picks falling through this draft phase.
Do you like sOAZ's Kennen?
I like Kennen into Aatrox.
Okay, good dodge of the question. We'll evaluate the answer to that one once we get in-game Frosk. And now Kobbe, as well as Norskeren, will pick up the final two champs. Xerxe is most likely going to take that Karthus into the jungle. So Aatrox top, Syndra mid into the Jayce. And the conundrum question, this draft phase started with a priority focus on 3 AD carries. And what is left for Kobbe to run? Does he even stick with it? He could play a mage in the bot lane, but not expecting that to be the case.
That would be a definitely left turn that I wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
Please just play Volibear.
No. I mean, Jhin, all right, if this gets locked in, it's a surprise. It's not the direction. It's also not the greatest wave push. What do you make?
I do like the fact that Jhin has long-range kind of fight starting potential if he starts a fight by opening up his curtain call. And again, if you think about between Syndra's Scat of the Week and Jhin, you can open up so much space for Karthus and Aatrox to take over. I feel like this game is still really about the Syndra-Karthus duo, however.
Okay, so Syndra Karthus, how well they combine, and of course Misfits will round out their draft now with the Zac. Let's step back, look holistically at what these two team comps want to do. Very different flavor of team compositions to what we've been seeing over the weekend, but a lot more diverse this weekend. So what do both team comps want to do to win?
I mean, you kind of have the Wombo combo coming out of the Misfits here. Normally they like to smack lane phase. They do have a lot of that potential anyway, and then once they hopefully get leads in the lane phase, their ability to snowball into first, second team fight, kind of around that 15 to 20 minute window is very strong. On the other side, it is really about ramp time. Level 6, level 9 on Syndra is going to be a big boon of power for them, and how they time that with Xerxe. I've heard that Xerxe is like the OG Karthus jungle. I know that Jankos broke out that champion on the competitive stage, but everyone says, nah, Xerxe's the real guy about Karthus. We have seen him play it before. He had ridiculous numbers, and he's going to have to put them up again if they want to make an impact in this game.
Yeah, and of course, when you go back far enough, both in solo queue and in professional play, Xerxe has been one of the junglers that had built a reputation for being an innovator and bringing something new to the stage. Can he bring some success for Splyce? Both of these teams are fighting in what could be classified as the battle for 4th place. With Misfits losing yesterday and Splyce struggling a little, there's some question marks around who is the 4th best team, as both of these teams are fighting in that class.
It still feels like we should really favor Misfits coming into this. Splyce had a very rough game, even though Misfits are on a current loss streak, so we'll see if Xerxe is able to pack that punch and lead his team to victory. What I really want to hone in, though, is that it feels like Misfits are kind of going back to basics, though. They still have a lot of power in that bottom lane with the Kai'Sa Alistar, and then you throw the Zac on top of it at level 5. The gank potential is massive there. You know that they like to snowball Hansama. On the other side, though, it's like defense for Norskeren and Kobbe. They have Jhin and Tahm Kench. They just want to clear waves and stay safe.
Well, they absolutely do, and we do have a temporary pause. Thank you for the cheers, ladies and gentlemen. That wasn't quite what I was expecting.
I don't think they're cheering us.
Oh, damn. Let's step back then and look at the Splyce composition, because one of the things that just struck a chord with me, Frost, because you were talking about Karthus and how in order to really enable Karthus, you want to have some strong lanes. You've now got Aatrox playing into Kennen, Syndra into Jayce, and then a fairly defensive bot lane. So it's not quite the best recipe, but is it a bad recipe?
I'm going to say no. It's always, again, kind of come to the skill check on Misfits laners. I feel like so many teams, like the strategy is, you know that Misfits are such a dominating lane phase. They smack kids in kind of the 0 to 15 minute mark. And if you can survive that, the idea is that you roll them over in the late game. So Splyce packed their composition with a lot of late game insurance policy. You have the Karthus, you even have a champion like Jhin in that late game, comes around with that 4-shot, boom, deletes someone from the map. But taking that risk of having the Syndra, having the Aatrox, and saying we're going to be totally fine in this lane so that we can hold down the fort to get to that scaling stage.
So basically, you have the tools to play defensively and scale up, and then with all the zone control, AoE from Syndra, from Aatrox, from Jhin as well, there's a lot of tools to find those picks.
Yeah, and I do want to make a special caveat. It feels like we keep saying that Splyce only know how to play scaling, and I don't think that's true. Splyce can play the lane phase, and they have potential to do so with the Syndra and an Aatrox. So this isn't just about late game, it's just that they have that insurance policy if everything falls apart.
Yeah, slightly biased early game strength for Misfits in terms of comp, but if Splyce played effectively, they can pull ahead. Just an update, there was a pause. Gorilla was just a little bit uncomfortable on the desk, so I made some adjustments, and we are now back into game. And our eyes are going to be on Xerxe as he's trading some damage with Maxlore. Both junglers ideally want to get a few levels under their belt. Zach's going to be stronger at the lower level, or pre-6 ganks, obviously, than a Karthus. You can't deny the CC that every single lane has, so Karthus plus that CC is easy kills.
Yeah, it's just different windows. Karthus looking for the level 4. Once he has a point into Wall of Pain, his ganks are very strong. You already talked about the CC. Zach, it's usually level 4 to level 5, although hold up, a bit of trading.
Yeah, I mean, it is training. They're training to trade. No additional shots fired, though. And Maxlore has definitely had a penchant for early ganks. One of the more successful early game gankers in our league.
It can be really risky to take an elongated trade with Jhin level 1, just because if he gets that 4-shot off, it's going to hurt. So I do like the call from Hans and Gorilla to say, let's just tease him once with the Q and walk away from this one.
Yeah, how about no is the decision. I do want to put some numbers to our jungle impact discussion, though, because Xerxe versus Maxlore not only was a feature of the Match of the Day video, as Kobbe lands a lot of damage. You can see kills plus assists at 15, very, very similar in stats. Jungle proximity, almost identical. But then when you look at the forward percentage, the amount of time you spend past the halfway point in the map, this is where Maxlore has nearly double the stats of Xerxe. Helps when you have a few more dominating games and a few more early game ganks pushing into enemy lanes.
I mean, the thing is if we expect this to be an explosive game of League of Legends, you have to know that both these junglers, Xerxe and Maxlore, are the fuse to both these teams. Everything revolves around their early decision-making. You heard Yanko say it yesterday, jungle is the most important role in the game. It's been that way for a very long time in League of Legends, and these are probably two of the most creative pathing junglers that we have in the LEC. I think Maxlore gets a lot of praise, deservedly so a lot of the time, but Xerxe really has flown under the radar for how impactful and how strong he's been this split.
Well, let's see if he can really help Splyce pick up a win. Both these teams at 4 and 3, and Xerxe, the man you were talking about, now pushing into Misfits blue buff, just trying to scout it out, get some information on Maxlore pathing. This will allow Splyce to know that Maxlore is heading to the upper half of the map, or the top half rather.
Something that I also want to kind of talk about in terms of Splyce composition while we have a bit of a slow early game due to the junglers needing more levels for ganking is Splyce's ability to play around mobility. Picks like having the Tahm Kench, taking teleport on your AD carry, now also having an ultimate like Requiem to impact the entire map. We talk all the time how they are a very macro-focused team. It's not necessarily about their mechanical flexing in those dueling stages, but how they play the map. They always load all of their compositions with so many tools to make very fast rotations around the map.
And I'm a big fan of that. When you know a team like Misfits likes to play early, get advantages early, having global tools like a Karthus or like a Shen in some cases gives you the opportunity to counter some of those early plays. Right on cue, Froskurinn called a level 4 gank with Xerxe once he gets that Wall of Pain. Now, if Norskeren can find a gobbledygook, or Kobbe can find himself some CC, this is where the kills will come from. Tongue Lash comes out, a root onto Gorilla, Wall of Pain comes out. The Pulverize is down. Now there is the Devour. Gobbled up, goopied out underneath the tower. Kobbe, Xerxe, Norskeren pick up one of the cleanest controlled first bloods.
And you can see exactly how this combination was supposed to work for them. Norskeren gave him the tongue, Jhin gave him the line damage, found the snare, and then they walked him down with the wall of pain. And they got more for that because they, never mind, it was Norskeren's flash. I was about to be really excited. They got Gorilla's flash. They can do it again. But no, Gorilla still has his flash. It's okay.
Didn't even need it, just walked straight up to them. And exactly as we talked about, Xerxe, with the combination of CC in lane, picks up a very easy kill.
Yeah, and just how clean that is. Again, you hit the tongue lash, then Kobbe follows up with the, I believe it's the Jhin W.
It is indeed.
Finds the snare, flashes
Deadly
forward.
Flourish is the name you're looking for. I didn't want to say it, but yeah, you're good.
We call it casters, we don't.
That's fair, that's fair. I'll forgive you on that one, Frosco.
What's an ability name?
It's super weird because you see that kill coming and it's like one of the slowest kills that you've ever seen in a game of League. And it's like, well, I can't really play it because they're just running them down with strollers. But early game, Splyce, they pick up first blood. Maxlore getting close to level 5. Zach, as you mentioned, can look for those ganks at level 4 or level 5. Norskeren being flashless is an option, but Hunsum and Gorilla pushing very heavily into that lane. Hunsum needs to back. Look at the itemization differences. Because Kobbe was involved in the assist, he's already got himself the boots and double longswords.
Yeah, hold on though. I'm kind of curious what lane Maxlore is going to decide to attack here. Again, if you look kind of across his lanes, there's not a lot of free CC now that Misfits are placed a little bit on the back foot on the bot side. You'd expect him to team up with Alistar, but looks like it's Humanoid first.
All right, take a look at this. Catches up the minion, pulls him in. Very good reply stun. Humanoid shuts down the damage from Febi.
And that's one of the dangers of trying to gank for the Jayce into Syndra here. If she hits that Scout of the Week, it's going to pretty much stop any gank in its tracks, even though ganking mid lane as Zach is so strong because of the different angles and pathways that you can take into the lane phase with your elastic slingshot.
Yeah, we talked about the stats, how Xerxe and Maxlore in the early game, relatively speaking, matched. Kills plus assists and jungle proximity. We've seen one gank on each side, but it's Xerxe and Splyce that have 1,000 gold lead. Now Gorilla is aware of this. There's a control ward sitting revealing Xerxe and Norskeren. A lot of time has been invested in starting up this Ocean Drake. And Misfits, they're threatening and engaged, but Splyce have moved first. You can see Humanoid has left the mid lane.
And I do want to point out Norskeren's spell choice. So he has the Unsealed Spellbook, and he's now taking the Smite since he used his Summoner spell Flash aggressively in that last kill. So they obviously really want to force this Ocean Dragon since they have double Smite potentially between Karthus and Tahm Kench.
And while you're on the topic of Keystones, obviously Teleport for Kobbe in combination with the Requiem from Karthus and Teleport from Chachi just opens up some more of those tools for later into the game. And I want to just draw some attention to the top lane. sOAZ is currently 63 CS up to 49. He has been pushing Vizicsacsi in over and over and over in a matchup. And I quote was, "I like Kennen into Aatrox, but was not yet willing to comment on sOAZ's Kennen into Aatrox." So I would like you to go on the record as we see the game play out.
I am feeling sOAZ's Kennen right now into Vizicsacsi's Aatrox so far.
So far, great. I'll take that, and we'll keep checking in on this. And the only reason I'm making a bit of a joke about it is when sOAZ put Kennen into Expect Urgot about 2 weeks ago, he made a few poor decisions and got really, really badly punished, and it's what allowed XL to run down Misfits and actually pick up one of the wins, or one of the ways. So I need to see some growth from sOAZ, especially with some criticism for his Sylas game yesterday.
I mean, I think it's pretty easy when you have Klepto Kennen this time around because you take the W first, so you can lightning rush up to someone and then you immediately get a Klepto proc, see what you get. If you get like a red pot or something, you can like automatically win the lane at level 1. Of course, you give away a lot of your power in your team fight for getting more bang for your buck gold in that lane phase, but sOAZ is doing fine, right on track.
And that gold lead from First Blood hasn't generated a whole lot more, 13.4k to 12.6. Small CS advantages in the lanes you'd expect for Splyce with Humanoid and Kobbe. Syndra now at level 7, really good wave clear. A little bit easier to push the wave out than the accelerated shock blasts from Febiven's Jayce. And a fairly defensive start, actually. Febiven gone for that early Hex Drinker, which was doubly effective into both the Karthus and the Syndra.
I do want to point kind of the play that Splyce are setting up here. So because they have the ultimates available on Syndra, Karthus, and then using the teleport from Kobbe, having a buy advantage over Hansama on the Jhin versus Kaisa, they now want to pick something to take on this bottom side of the map. Ideally, they'd rock into the jungle, they'd find some out of position, and then just blow them up. But this is Splyce saying, okay, we know that we're strong right now. What do we want to do with our strength? Is it going to be the Ocean Dragon? Is it going to be the bot lane tower? Is it going to be finding a pick on the jungle? But
it's interesting because Splyce are playing around this dragon, trying to make the moves, and Misfit are responding. That's twice now Misfits have read the play, or read the attempt, and reacted in such a way that Splyce have backed off, not willing to commit to the objective of the fight.
And we have seen Splyce burn before where, you know, it's sometimes this indecisiveness. Do they want to pull the trigger? Do they get caught out? In fact, Norskeren even rocking up to the Ocean Dragon, smiting it, and then maybe changing his mind a little bit, but like you're saying, Misfits constantly reacting to what Splyce are doing.
And you can feel with Norskeren's Summoner Spellbook being available, changes the smite back to Flash, so Flash and Heal available to him. And as we get close to the 10-minute mark, just want to quickly let all of our viewers know, after this game, Deficio will be joining Drakos and Foxdrop over on the Analyst desk to break down all the action. I intentionally had to not be there, okay? And we'll get back into the matchup.
Is that why they swapped you to caster desk?
Exactly. You know, it's tough. I can't look him in the eyes, you know? It's just, it hurts.
What's he gonna wear? He doesn't have any of his floral shirts. All I saw was the OG gear.
I know, he looks so much better now, but, you know, after the breakup, I've lost weight, changed my hair, and he wore, you know, grandpa clothes. So take that for what you will.
He owns like 3 sweaters.
There's literally like 2 people clapping, so sorry, Berlin, and everyone watching at home. But as we jump back into the action, it is somewhat expected here from the draft, and what I mean by that is, Frosk, you'd mentioned that Splyce have some tools to reciprocate or respond to what Misfits could put together, and as far as skill checks are going, like, Xerxe now, even though he's down CS, you can see him fighting back. He's got his Merc Trades, got the Kindle Gem, and he's pushing into sOAZ.
So what Misfits should do right now is they should make a play on the top side of the map. Because it's an Ocean Dragon, they're totally fine to see bot lane control. Against the...
Well, let's take a look at this. Very good scan of the week. Interrupts the knockup. Humanoid runs for his life right now. Presses R. Requiem's not going to have enough damage, I don't think, for Xerxe to get the kill, and Humanoid escapes with his life.
I mean, I like it. They looked mid, they thought he caught him out, but Humanoid, some fancy footwork. Do burn the flash, though, so still a win for Misfits. Yes, they lose the Ocean Drake. It's going to hurt because this does feel like an extended lane phase, not the end of the world, again, not an Infernal Drake, but again, Misfits are totally fine. They recognize that against the power levels, the level 9 Syndra, the Requiem, and then the Abyssal Voyage, they don't want to fight in Bottom River. If you don't play that perfectly, you can very quickly get caught out by Splyce, so I expect them to start throwing everything towards the top side for sOAZ.
Yeah, and especially now that Norskeren changed the teleport. Not only does he have the Abyssal Voyage, but Splyce are going to be looking to catch Misfits out.
But this is a classic Splyce play. They really love to do this around 13 to 15 minutes. They'll just break lane phase, use their TPs, and suddenly start throwing everything top. And so again, if Misfits are aware of this, if they have the proper vision, if Splyce try to match them topside, they could be just setting up a play for sOAZ, and then all of Splyce show up.
Okay, but I feel a little bit nervous if Splyce do that, because itemization-wise, I prefer Proto Belt to Kindle Gem. I prefer Storm Razors to Thrift Shopping. I feel like
variety bucket where you got your BF sword, your long sword.
I call that the Goro build. When they're carrying 4 swords, Goro had 4 arms, not a Mortal Kombat fan. Right, we'll move on. But I feel like Misfits' itemization is just slightly stronger, so if they are prepared or ready for the plays, now obviously Storm Razor's just picked up for Kobbe, so that point will become significantly less.
I wasn't gonna like pull the rug out from under you, but I was like, I'm pretty sure he's just gonna go back and buy.
Just protect me from myself sometimes, Frosk. We appreciate it.
I don't strike you as a Mortal Kombat fan.
Yeah, you really don't. But it was the blank look in your eyes when I said Goro, and you didn't want to acknowledge it, so now I understand it's disdain, not unawareness.
It's fine. I understand, Trevor. Deficio had your heart. It's hard to replace him. He's a handsome man.
He is indeed. He is indeed. So let's take a look at this. Another attempt in the mid lane. Remember, Humanoid, very, very good scat of the week and an even better dive. Punishing the flashless target. This is why Maxlore is one of the better performing junglers. Punishes that window of opportunity.
And I didn't catch it, but Maxlore did. It's also the fact that it's so easy to dive on Zach because of his passive. You know that Syndra didn't have the flash, so it made it a very easy call. I was like, start throwing everything for sOAZ. I want to see Kennen get involved. And Maxlore's like, nah. Syndra, too easy. Sitting duck here.
Okay, but I do have a question for you. Now that we're getting close to the 15-minute mark and this game feels very, very even, there's strength in different parts of the map. We've not really seen Misfits go into a mid to late game scenario on an even footing with their opponents. Misfits have either won by 15 or 20 minutes or they're losing the game quite badly.
So, but the thing is that it doesn't automatically mean that Misfits can't play late game, just that they haven't done it yet. They have usually just smashed people in the first 15 minutes or they fall behind. So we actually don't have a lot of tape to really judge that if they do get to that late game decision-making point, if there's actually a problem there or not.
Well, this is where we get to find it, because we do have faith in Splyce's late game. We do have some positives to look at. Now, Xerxe does have flash available to him. We'll get pulled back into the wall, and Not going to be able to find a target with the ulti. Maxlore now gets knocked up into the air by Vizicsacsi. Vizicsacsi decides to engage. Remember, Requiem is still available. Xerxe flash re-engages. That's a flash dash! Here comes Hansama. Killer Instinct goes forward. Devoured by some time as Norskeren spits Kobbe right back out. One more shot going down. Flash to the top lane. The fight continues in the 3v3. Maxlore is only alone. There's not enough damage. So it finds one in reply. It's a 2-for-1 in the top lane. The Bloblets will get 3. And now the curtain is called and Misfits are running. Devour will need a few more strikes. Requiem simply doesn't have enough damage. Gorilla, that was close! How the hell did that happen? Kobbe finds a kill.
Look top, look bot, now back to me across the map. Splyce smash Misfits and on the Rift Herald as well. Not only that, but they push the waves into both towers, top and mid. This is actually a huge loss for Misfits, and you can see that in the gold very early in this game, swinging towards Splyce.
Ladies and gentlemen, cue the caster curse memes. We just said we want to watch late game. We just said we want to evaluate decision making. And Splyce get 4 kills, the Rift Herald, a 2,000 gold lead, and they are now in control.
And Chachi being the big benefactor there. That's now a 2-0-1 Aatrox. Any deficit that he was at before, he's now completely cleaned it up and showcasing that this champion keeps falling through drafts. He's much lower priority than he has been on 9.2 versus 9.1 and still kicking a lot of ass.
I mean, terrifyingly, coming into today, of the 11 games that Aatrox had played, he had a 27% win ratio. So difficult to execute might be why maybe he's fallen off the cards, but Vizicsacsi showing he can. He was down 20, 25 CS at some point in the laning phase, and now is equaling sOAZ, and obviously with the kills will have the advantage in the golds.
Now that said, there still is hope for Misfits because they will have power spikes coming up available on that mid game, so hope is not all completely lost in Dash, but it's going to be hard to pull out of this one. It's a good thing that it's a Cloud Dragon for Misfits because they say, we don't want to go near any sort of dragon fight until we have better itemization, kind of these power breakpoints. So Misfits have a window where they kind of hide back into their lanes to start to hoover up some of this free farm, whereas Splyce, agency's on them. They cleaned up this team fight and now they need to force their advantage on the map and start gobbling up as much gold as possible.
Can't believe he got it with the deadly flourish.
One more auto.
Steps all the way forward. Oh, that just feels bad, man.
The cinematic camera cut to the
really
other side.
Really nicely done.
Right on impact.
And of course the little rose that blossoms from Jhin. Really nicely done. So kudos here to Kobbe. 1-0-1, got the Storm Razors, got the Seal. And now he'll find himself under some pressure as Norskeren is in fact the man that's been jumped on. Remember, there's no flash for Norskeren, so this should be a kill eventually once Maxlore and Gorilla use everything. But it took a very, very long time to get to Norskeren and his grey health.
Yeah, welcome to the bounce house. Misfits found that they had the numbers advantage, they knew that they had the CC, and they punished the flashless Tahm Kench. See if Maxlore continues to snowball this. Syndra does have flash this time around. I actually think Maxlore is caught coming around this corner.
Yeah, feels to be the case. Started to charge the stretching strike and maybe just disengages, backs away. Maxlore, 93 CS to Xerxe's 135. Xerxe on the Karthus obviously can get involved in these fights with the ultimate, so spend a lot more time in the jungle, a lot more time pushing away at the camps, and Febiven decides to step forward, blows his flash. Have to feel there's a little bit of a bold pathing choice maybe, as Xerxe was spotted down south and I believe Chachi was pinged leaving the lane.
It would have looked a lot better if that shock blast had connected, because then you would have at least had that, oomph of the damage.
Yeah, and it didn't feel like he was walking into the damage blindly, so to speak. But this is really, really good to see from Splyce. They once again show that they are reliable in the early game. They make the right decisions. Xerxe was the man that's been a decision maker, a pivotal player. And this is, again, just how long... it surprises me how long it takes to kill Norskeren. And obviously, when you consider the burst damage from Aatrox, Syndra, Karthus, Misfits may not get that much time to kill a support in future fights.
Yeah, that said, but still good job on Misfits kind of recognizing the window that they had to make a play bottom there. So the Rift Herald is now finally going to drop, and it looks like Splyce are like, okay, we've got the agency, we're feeling pretty good right now, we're good at sieging, let's get behind this Herald.
Well, they need to... this is also going to put more pressure on Febiven, who, by the way, still has not completed a tier 1 item. Hex Drinker, straight to Dirk, the Warhammer, that's it. Into the Luden's Echo. sOAZ, on the other hand, he's got himself the Rylai's as well as the Proto Belt. And Shelly's been killed mid. There was no engage from Misfits.
Yeah, I do want to point out Kobbe and Norskeren's flashes are just about to come off of cooldown. There was so much respect given to Maxlore.
Oh, a lot of
Hold
damage
it.
from sOAZ, but here comes Maxlore and Xerxe. Searching Strike is channeled, but not going to be committing onto Chachi.
Okay, back to that mid play. There was so much respect giving to Maxlore because they knew that Zach had cheated over to the side. He was spotted out by Karthus.
Yeah, thank you very much. We are now looking at the POV of Gorilla. You can check that out over at twitch.tv/RightGames2. And Gorilla's doing what he can. I love his engages on Alistar.
Yeah, and we're also sitting right next to the Misfits bench, and in this arena, you can hear Gorilla shouting out commands. He is very loud, very vocal, so we're now back live.
And we are. Maxlore escapes with his life, forced to use Let's Bounce defensively, and just realized that after giving you some sass for the Jhin W earlier, I've been getting my Zac spells wrong. It's Elastic Slingshot that he's been charging up, not his Stretching Strike. So disappointed in myself, Frost.
Isn't the stretching strike just a Q?
It is indeed. And it's his ease pulling forward. So I just want to apologize to the viewers for saying the wrong spell names on my own behalf.
When
But
you're
it's-
corrected on spell names by a color caster.
Exactly. It's pretty depressing. But we're getting into 20 minutes now, and that 2,000 gold lead from 6 minutes ago feels less worrying, feels less damning. I just wanted to dramatize it a little, and we get to see now what Misfits can do. 1,500 gold, Ghost Blade picked up for Febiven, and it's not the most exciting of Drakes to fight around, so top and bottom towers is going to be probably the focus for Misfits and trying to get some control back.
What Misfits are trying to do is just open up free farm and start funneling that onto the champions who need it. So swapping lanes, putting sOAZ in the mid lane, making sure that Febiven, I think he got a mid wave and then rotated top side, also picked that one up. You can see that he finally has a completed item, so no longer just sitting on a bunch of components. And Jayce was slowed down a little bit in this game, but now right back on track and will be hitting pretty hard for at least the next 5 minutes.
How do you want to see Splyce playing out some of these team fights or these next few minutes? Because they don't have like a traditional engage type champion. It's pick, you know, Syndra, Jhin, I can see that working, or a flank maybe from TK.
It means that Splyce have to have a lot of agency when they're trying to identify what objective they want on the map. If that's a tower, if that's a dragon, if that's a baron, and that they need to move into the area and force Misfits to respond to them. If Splyce just kind of sit back and wait, their composition's not going to have a lot of oomph around it, but if they move into these objectives and control the vision and have Misfits walk into them, they'll feel a lot more comfortable.
Exactly what Splyce have just done. If you look at the minimap, littered with control wards, with pressure in the bot lane, Kobbe's got the rapid fire cannon. He's pushing onto the tower. So as Misfits try to defend there, it's an uncontested Drake, the second of the game, in favor of Splyce. And that mid-outer turret is just ripe for the taking. Very, very low. Small item difference, obviously, in the AD carries is Hansama. He's gone for the Rage Blade after Storm Razor. So starting to scale up on that Kai'Sa.
Yeah, pretty standard itemization paths for both marksmen. Now the thing is while that mid tower is the easiest next objective for Splyce to approach and take, you know, Stiff Breeze will knock that down, they have to be so conscientious about their flanking vision. You can see Maxlore already placing defensive control wards, starting to clear it all out, and it makes it so dangerous for Splyce to ever approach that structure. So while we see it, Splyce see it, Misfits also see it, and they're trying to make this mid tower a trap.
And traps are only as good as the follow-up afterwards. If you can get something in, you know, the line of sight, Misfits still have to execute the fight well. Marginally behind in gold. Duskblade of Drakthar now picked up for Febiven. That's his second item completion. And I'm going to just bring us back to the story that Misfits, we've not seen them play late game. And they are coming up against a team that has shown to be, you know, respectful and decent in the late game. Trap, not going to be pulled this time around. Misfits weren't ready for it. But it is very interesting to me that the two teams that are currently fighting to prove they belong in the top 4 are now going into this 25-minute phase on a very even footing. You know, outer towers down, all of them for Misfits, and only one remaining for Splyce. So it's a very, very close game as we're halfway through day 2 in week 4.
And I've had a lot of questions about Splyce's ability to team fight. They've had a lot of inconsistencies. Sometimes when they team fight, it looks phenomenal. Other times, some of their target selection is wrong. Sometimes how they're layering their cooldowns is a bit questionable. So I really want to see them continue to improve that aspect of their gameplay if they really do want to break into kind of that top echelon of teams. On the other side, like you said, we really don't have any tape of Misfits playing successfully at this point in the game. So now I'm just taking notes. How do Misfits actually look when they are close to even coming into a mid-game?
I just have this feeling this team fight could be very difficult for Splyce to pull off. It's a kind of non-traditional type of comp, or one that we don't see a huge amount. So you have to evaluate it under different circumstances that you would a team that is like a traditional tank and frontline, for example.
I think it takes a bit more patience. Again, you're kind of playing with your non-committal damage or CC, kind of throwing out, going fishing, seeing what you catch, and then whittling down your opponents versus the wombo combo of Zac and Alistar.
There's a wombo combo potentially on the card. sOAZ is teleported in behind Xerxe, and Febiven has almost already killed him. That's a flash over the wall. It's the slicing maelstrom. Protobelt forward. First kill onto Humanoid. He didn't even stat check with a press R. That's a double kill for Febiven. Xerxe's running for his life, and the Requiem's available, but nobody's low enough damage. Chachi gets knocked up into the air by the elastic slingshot, pulled backwards by the stretching strike. And with the passive going down, Xerxe will try to get some damage with those lay waste. Requiem is channeling cannon pop. Maxlore not enough just yet, but Vizicsacsi will at least get the Zac passive, and that is an ace for Misfits.
And it was a hard team fight to execute. It didn't help that Splyce were completely caught out of position. So much cleaner from Misfits, and a very easy rotation into a Baron. We said that their composition wasn't down out yet. They were going to have this very strong pocket between 20 to 25 minutes, and they're still in it.
Wow, very, very nicely done. Misfits pick up a phenomenal fight. The Baron, and there's, of course, the gold lead as well. And this replay is brought to you by Alienware.
And look at how much is expended to save Private Xerxe. He actually gets chunked out really low, and Norskeren is going to gobble him up and then just try to get this Karthus into safety. Febiven doing massive damage. But because so much is expended just trying to get the Karthus out, he's not doing any damage here. So Misfits are just going nuts, while Xerxe is not contributing at all to his team. He just dropped a Skittle on the creep wave. He'll press his ultimate at the very end, but too little too late.
Yeah, and of course, earlier in this game, when I asked how they team fight, Frost, your exact
Not
words
like
were,
that.
your exact words, agency, it's Splyce have to set something up, they need vision. They had none of those things. They walked into a dark area of the map and got punished by Misfits. So all credit to Misfits for taking control of the game at 25 minutes. And, you know, it's up to Splyce. They can't afford to lose vision control or lose awareness of where Misfits are, because you can see how destructive those team comps can be. Febiven, almost 100 to 0 Xerxe solo.
Yeah, the long-range engage potential, not just with the Zac, but also with the Kai'Sa, and the ability to snipe out with Kai'Sa and Jayce. There's just a lot of creativity on Misfits' composition. And again, something that Splyce really struggle with is the longer that you hold them on the map, they're great at saying, we need to do this, and setting up for it. They're really bad at playing reactive League of Legends. And Misfits' composition is very reactive. You have so many tools to play so many different styles. Hard engage, poke, pick.
Yeah.
So they just kind of roll the dice every
Combo,
time.
team fight, you know, disengage, re-engage. There's a lot of tools. So a pretty clever comp, actually. And this will allow Misfits, now that they've got control of the map, they've got the fourth tower down the bottom, and they pick up their first dragon. It is a cloud. This will at least just help them move slightly around the map, a little bit quicker. And with Baron back for another minute and a half, there is some vision in the bottom half of the map, so maybe mid lane, they could opt to push that down, but instead just pick up those items. Hourglass for sOAZ, Lost Whisper for Febiven, so they're continuing to scale up and get more effective items in the late game.
Yeah, and it's also the fact that you have Hourglass available, the Maw, and the Locket, so there's a lot of tools right now to help individual pieces on Misfits avoid a lot of the damage from Xerxe and Karthus' ultimate. So this, you know, priority pick that Splyce really put a lot of their eggs into its basket isn't paying off for them.
And we still had a 2,000 gold lead that separates these teams. It was Splyce that had the 2K lead for, you know, the last 10 minutes, and now it's been Misfits for most recent history. Bounties available for sOAZ and for Febi. And you see Chachi's tanky enough to survive those accelerated shock blasts. And with this last
it's gonna
Baron,
melt.
Yeah, last Baron empowered siege, I mean, the tower goes down. I guess mid, inner, or is it just vision control? I mean, Misfits, this isn't the Baron that will win them the game, but it maintains control, and likely the next Baron is what they'll be wanting to contest to try and knock over the Nexus.
I mean, we say that, but if Splyce step out just a little bit, again, all of the tools on Misfits' composition to punish them instantly is very terrifying. So Splyce are still, yeah, we can probably survive this, at least our Nexus won't go down on this initial Baron push, unless they're caught out.
All right, I take that back. sOAZ goes for the solo. The curtain is called back.
Oh!
He instantly gets caught out. Does not use the hourglass you called out, Froskurinn. 1 for 1, mid and top are down respectively, as Maxlore's unable to pull Norskeren through the gate. So the tower will stand in the mid lane, and that was a bold move by sOAZ.
I mean, I like it. You saw the head scratch. He knew he wanted to have the fancy footwork. He didn't want to have to pull the hourglass because that's still going to make him a sitting duck. He'll just get lined up for the next shot. So tried to find the, the duck, dodge,
Yeah,
dip, dive.
That's it.
Did I do it?
If you can dodge a curtain call, you can dodge a wrench. sOAZ can't, and that's why he died. But question I asked 30 minutes ago, Kennen, sOAZ today, very impressive. I'm going to answer it. That wasn't the question. Sorry.
Did you just ask yourself a question so
didn't.
you could give me
I
the
asked it
answer?
in my head and realized that I didn't say that out loud. But I mean, he's doing very well, and like the burst damage is actually quite insane.
Yeah, Humanoid just wanted to safely wave clear this. Wasn't expecting the, I'm going to say bravado of sOAZ to just proto belt in and blow him up. Tries to get the sweet sidestep. Didn't find it.
No, definitely not. And of course, there was no follow-up. That's a head scratcher. Not a face palm. We'll have to wait for a slightly bigger fumble for the face palm.
Again, I'm always a fan when players just try to make the aggressive play, even
Yeah.
if it doesn't work out as well as it could have.
No, and you can
Still
see the gold graph on your screen. 2.9k, the largest goldie Splyce had. 3.3k, the largest goldie Misfits had. And it's just been a very recent swing in control. But Splyce still have their base. The gold lead is really not very large at this stage in the game. And with Death Cap having been completed for Xerxe, that Requiem and those layaway Skittles are going to do a lot of damage. So if Splyce can once again arrest control of the vision, you can see Chachi pushing all the way in the bottom lane. There's some control wards in that bottom right-hand quadrant. There are tools that Splyce can use to either get the next Cloud Drake or the Baron.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate that's like Cloud,
Yeah.
Ocean, Cloud, Cloud. The Dragon RNG is just not working out right now for either team. So it's really just going to be about this next Baron that's spawning in 40 seconds. And you keep saying it, you know, Splyce need to rotate into that area early, which means they need to neutralize their top and mid wave, rock in, and then start getting all of the vision denial. So we need to see their inventories loaded up with control wards. You can see they've already purchased them.
Yeah. But Natal, what do you think about the scaling on the teams? They play slightly differently, right? But we're getting into this 3-4 item phase. So do you lean towards one set of champions?
I mean, you could say that like the hyper scaling of Karthus' Jhin is super strong, but ultimately both these teams have quadruple threats. So I think you almost have to kind of throw out scaling conversations.
And it's just decision making and playstyle.
Yeah, it's going to come down to execution of the team fights, because it's not like you kill one carry and then suddenly you've won because your carry just outscaled. You got to kill 4 people because everyone's doing damage in these games.
Well, those 4 people are in the pit right now. Vizicsacsi's going to start to channel the teleport. He's going to make it into the river. Baron will be dead before the fight begins. Norskeren goes for the tongue lash, and sOAZ has flash available for the slicing maelstrom. If Splyce continue to chase, Misfits could look for the re-engage. They do not want a full frontal fight. Shock Blast chunks down Xerxe, and Misfits, they don't fancy the risk. They play the safe game and get the hell out of dodge.
They didn't like their positioning. They didn't like their case right there. They probably wanted to get some backs in. Also, anytime that your Jayce is doing that much damage, let him whittle down.
Oh, Scout of the Week catches Maxlore. He doesn't actually get the kidnap. sOAZ will not be able to find a great slicing maelstrom. No Splyce are split up. Maxlore's already dead, but this could turn badly. Febiven and Summer need to clean the fight up. Requiem gets a full channel. The burst down. That's a GA pop. This was a disconnected team fight from Misfits, and they get punished for it.
Disaster. sOAZ didn't land the massive Kennen ultimate that we needed. Gorilla, I believe, missed the pulverize, so many cooldowns, not synced up, not working, and even with the Baron, it's Splyce on the aggressive charge.
Oh man, the 2 carries left. Febiven and Summer need to try and fend all 5 members of Splyce. Death time is 30 seconds for Gorilla and sOAZ. And with the help of some Baron Hard minions, it will be a lot more difficult to push onto the Nexus. But just as you start thinking that Misfits have got the Baron, have got control, they fumble the fight.
So disconnected. So they reset here. They want to get this deep teleport ward, and it looks like it's going to go great. Maxlore is going to fly over the corner. sOAZ is going to come in. They'll get the massive wombo combo. But Maxlore comes over, immediately popped into passive. sOAZ ultimate isn't connecting with anyone. Gorilla gets 1 person on the pulverize. Splyce are able to disengage from the fight with the Wall of Pain, and then Xerxe just turns around and blows them up with the Karthus ultimate.
And huge credit once again to Humanoid Scatter the Weeks. Time and time again. Facepalm evolved to fistpalm. Time and time again, Humanoid is pushing away Maxlore's engages. He's stunning up multiple targets. The Scatter the Week on the orbs right towards the end of that fight, managing to stun at least 3 members of Misfits, and it just allows Kobbe to do 3,900 team damage and help win the fight.
That said, the main victim of that was all of the Baron buffs. They still have it, I believe, on 2 members for Misfits, Febi and I believe Sama, so they can still apply it in at least 2 lanes. So didn't lose an inhib, but lost an inhib tower, not great, still in it.
I mean, it's completely even. The gold is even at 33 minutes, 9 kills apiece. Yes, there's a dragon advantage to Splyce and a tower advantage to Misfits, but those are irrelevant at this time. What matters is how the teams look to enable their team fights. If I look down the summoner spells, Norskeren is sitting on a cleanse as Febiven just escapes the flourish that could have been deadly if he was caught. Looking at teleports, it's only Kobbe on the side of Splyce that has one, and obviously Febi being flashless, that could be problematic as the next few fights will roll around.
I also want to talk about that choice of target right there. The fact that they see that Chachi is not overextended, but kind of available, and that Misfits decide to pull the trigger and jump on him. Maybe just saying, you know, if we get lucky, we can pop the GA, but that's Zac without his passive, and that's an Aatrox with the GA. He's still going to take forever to kill, so I'm just kind of questioning, you know, what the communication is like for Misfits in these late game decisions, and that could have gone very wrong if they had continued to overcommit on trying to snipe off Aatrox there.
Yeah, something we'll have to investigate with the team and the players. And this is one of the closest games that we've had all split long. At 35 minutes in, teams to be very, very even in gold, and they just keep trading control, you know, like checkers, just taking pieces off the board until eventually we see who makes the final play.
And it's going to come down to who's actually going to execute these team fights properly this time around. Feels like it was a mis-execution last time from Misfits, that Splyce got the better of them, but we've seen both teams kind of fumble team fights this game, and it's going to come out to who's going to be clutch. You would assume that Splyce would feel much better in this pocket around the 35-minute mark. This is where their like bread and butter is. They're so used to playing the game here.
And of course, Xerxe's getting closer and closer to what I would expect. Yeah, Void Staff. He's got himself that blasting one right now, and does need to pick himself up some additional farm. 4 items in for our AD carries. Static Shiv, Rapid Fire, Storm Razors, Eye Edge for Kobbe. He's got himself a QSS as well. Just help a little bit. Try and get some of the CC from like the sOAZ and first. GA for Hans Summer, so that could be pivotal into the Requiems.
It's just a very different game for both these ADCs, Kai'Sa versus Jhin. Kai'Sa usually has to play front to back unless you get a super safe wombo combo where you can just zip into that back line, possibly with the Zac. So I think maybe if Febiven gets like a massive shock blast, Hansama might feel comfortable going for a backline play, but otherwise he kind of just wants to walk through with Kai'Sa's damage.
I mean, if Kai'Sa can jump in with sOAZ's Kennen and Maxlore's Zac, that creates so much CC, and I can see that being one of the tools, but we saw how sOAZ and Maxlore fumbled it in that mid lane, so the margin for error is so fine.
It's also just very scary to do that as the ADC against a Syndra. She has longer range than you do, and if you jump in right into a Scout of the Week, and Humanoid has been so good on hitting those on key targets.
Yes. Yeah, no, I agree. And it just goes back to the teams have to execute their team comps correctly. And for Splyce, that means setup, that means planning, that means the word you used earlier was agency, so they need to be the ones in control. They don't have that right now. If you look at the minimap, what happened last time that allowed Splyce to make the play, Chachi pushed out bottom, he extended the vision deeper into Misfits territory, and then allowed it to push to the inner turret and then eventually TP for the play. So it looks like they're starting to do that now. You can see Splyce. They need control, they need vision to make the informed decision for the next Baron fights.
And it's not just vision, it's vision denial. They want to make sure that Misfits are jumping in dark. Again, long range engage between the Zac and the Alistar. They want to make sure that Misfits don't have the information to feel comfortable making that type of engage. And at this point in the game, this late, with the AD carries these stacked in their items, you leave a Baron alone for 10 seconds and it's gone.
Yeah, now the one thing you do need to keep your eye on here, everyone has their flash except Febiven. So if a challenge in the Baron pit breaks out shortly, which it feels like is coming, that's obviously going to be one of the key targets, or one of the primary targets, especially with Xerxe having completed his Void Staff, Humanoid sitting on those double, need to see large rods, so he would like a little bit more time before he can upgrade those. We are still seeing an incredibly close game, and this is exactly what Splyce want. They have the options to initiate. The Chains will pull back Gorilla, but there was no CC connecting onto members of Misfits, and now it's up to Misfits to be creative, to use that long-range engage through the vision of Splyce and to find those targets. Also for Splyce, risky, starting inside the Baron pit where Zac and Kennen and Jayce's value goes higher.
Double smite though, Norskeren has it available.
Okay, so they're going to attempt the rush down. Maxlore's waiting north of the pit. Splyce realize they don't want to be caught inside the electrical bounce house. If Kennen and Zac engage and Splyce, they back away.
Now, what's interesting here is that Misfits could try to cheat someone over here with Han Sama and then just solo out the Elder Drake, use that battle power, and then use that to rock over into Baron and give them priority there.
Well, that seems to be the case. Norskeren still sitting on that smite, so maybe helpful. Blue Trinket goes down just behind the pit. Elder Dragon easily secured, is uncontested. And Misfits in control now.
And this is a perfect example. Again, Splyce are excellent at recognizing we need the Baron. This is what we do. We clear out the vision. As soon as it extends them on the map and they have to juggle more than one objective, they start to fall behind. They're not able to adapt. They're not able to be creative as Misfits are to say, just zone them off, Baron. We'll take Elder.
All right, now Misfits are being creative. sOAZ is going bot lane. He's going straight for the base. Baron is going to get rushed down, burst down, and blown up. You said 10 seconds, Frosk. It took about 6. Baron secured. Look at
sOAZ.
Didn't even contest, and there's empowered recalls. sOAZ should still be able to get out. He gets the inhibitor, and I think he's going to look for the executor. Is he going to try to escape this?
He's running to his team. Here comes Gorilla.
If there was any player who would bet money would escape a life-threatening situation, sOAZ is the man that you would bet it on. Misfits are not done yet. They have shown an ability, or led by sOAZ, to dive. They're not going to go for it just yet. Happy with inhib down bottom.
I mean, heist of the century. Misfits just got the Baron, the Elder, and the inhib, and Splyce are just standing thinking, what the hell just happened to them?
Yeah, absolutely everything. They've lost complete control. No Elder, no Baron. Super's in the bottom lane, and Misfits have got themselves a couple of minutes to play with to siege down these last bases. I mean, just a beautiful call. And I think that's where the strength of Misfits roster will shine. 40 minutes in a game, when you look at the experience on Gorilla, Febiven, sOAZ, Maxlore, Hunt Summer, the stages that these guys have played on, the leagues, the world stages, international stages, they make it extremely calculated play and get away with it.
The combined ELO and IQ, the 3,000 IQ play.
That was it.
Yeah, because I got 3 objectives off of it.
Somebody needs to put that in grayscale. Froskurinn face looks at Misfits as like the 3,000 IQ play.
I look at them dreamily.
There we go, with an Elder, a Baron, and this is of course the 30 IQ play as Gorilla gets caught out, eats a lot of CC, and fortunately, thanks to his ultimate, is able to walk away. But let's see if Misfits are able to more safely play with an advantage, because we have seen some fumbles from both of these teams, and I still don't feel like Misfits are absolutely going to win this game. A lot of damage onto Humanoid, as he's now zoned away, and Maxlore continues to get chunked down.
That was really good from sOAZ there to threaten the fact that, okay, if you go in on my jungler right there, Maxlore thinks he's cut out, I will ult you. So I'm going to say he saved Maxlore there. He got all of Splyce to back up back into their base.
All right, sOAZ is sitting with a Proto Belt, and his ultimate flash is on cooldown. So at least the flash slicing Maelstrom's not going to be able to happen. Maxlore may start to channel that stretching strike. Humanoid Scout of the Week this time round does not find a target, but look at the bottom lane. sOAZ is battling with Vizicsacsi, ushering the super minions into the base. Once the supers are inside, it allows additional time in mid and top.
Yeah, we're just slowly whittling Splyce down, although they have caught them out.
All right, they have indeed. Febiven is blown up. Stat check success for Humanoid. That is a kill. Now the curtain is called, and Gorilla and Maxlore are able to escape. They dodge the first 2 shots, the 4th goes wide. There simply wasn't enough else, but the mid inhibitor turret has fallen. I think sOAZ, does he know that Chachi's there? Not just yet, or may not have. He's decided to back away, so they get the base objective, but again, it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back for Misfits.
It's just been very slow, very stop and go, Simon says, if you will. Credit to Humanoid finding the pick on Febiven. The idea there is that you constantly throw out the Kaisa W, you constantly throw out the Shock Blast. If you like what you start to pick away, then you go for the engage. Fortunately, caught up in the CC, immediately deleted by a late game Syndra, and then once you burn the Zac ultimate and you don't have your Jayce available, you lose all of your pressure with the Baron, and we might actually be going for a 3rd Baron repeat.
Well, it feels to be the case. 80,000 gold for Splyce, 81,000 gold for Misfits.
I mean, gold doesn't matter at this point.
It doesn't, no. And I think that's been the case for about the last 20 at least. It is purely about execution, and it is actually very, very fun to watch a game where 2 stylistically different team compositions get to show both the strengths and weaknesses of their compositions.
The terrifying thing is always going to be the late game Karthus, though. We talk about this all the time. When Karthus is in game, he puts a timer on the game because he can just win you fights before they begin, depending on how much damage his Requiem's going to do. I haven't seen him press R in a while, but if it packs a significant punch, Splyce should just start forcing fights on that.
Did you see that? Hans Summer walks up, presses WQ, and Kobbe loses 50% of his HP. Let's Bounce does nothing as members of Splyce are able to escape with their life. Humanoid flashes away. sOAZ is just obliterated. So much burst damage, but here comes Chachi. Requiem hasn't even been used yet. Chachi's passive is still available through the World Ender. Now Gorilla's in trouble. Requiem comes down, and this is going to hurt a lot. As Misfits continue to escape. Gorilla did go golden, the curtain is called backwards, no targets available. Febiven chunked down at 30%. Baron is up in a minute, Elder in 50, but can they win the game?
Yeah, they're using Redemption onto the minion wave, making sure that it's very healthy. They know that it's, what, 35 on sOAZ, 46 on Gorilla. They could go for the interior. They hit towers like a truck.
Oh my word, 5 versus 3. Hans Summer's going to GA, so call it 5 versus 3.5. Hans Summer's going to try to wave clear. The towers are starting to fall. The minions need to die. Febiven's being pushed backwards as the weak is being scattered. Febiven jumps back in. Here comes Maxlore. They're trying to just buy some time. They need Febi and sOAZ to come back in. Devour used to save some time, as well as Norskeren pushing onto the Bloblets. This is another kill for Misfits. They take down Maxlore.
sOAZ
is up in a few. Splyce may have done it. They've got Hans Summer. Killer in 6 the back line. GA pops it. Splyce onto the Nexus turret number 2. Here comes sOAZ. Slicing Maelstrom's available. Devour buys some time. sOAZ gets 1, but now the 3 members of Splyce turn back around. Febiven is already dead again. He's going to be re-engaged in a second. sOAZ get popped down. Splyce have done it. Here comes Gorilla now, but he simply cannot save the Nexus against 3 members. Gets the pulverize down onto the ground. Kobbe's pushing him backwards. There will be another kill here for Splyce. As Kobbe, Vizicsacsi, and Norskeren will be waving the Splyce flag high, taking down Misfits.
It felt like the tortoise versus the hare, the slow and steady Splyce versus the very fast Misfits. Splyce, for whatever reason, they tend to stall the game, they pulled it out where they were comfortable, and they executed when it mattered.
Super, super interesting game to watch. Splyce end up picking up the win in 45 minutes and 8 seconds. They set the record yesterday for the longest game of the Spring Split at 45:50. And we get our first taste test of what Misfits look like in an even footing late game.
Unfortunately, a lot of individual mistakes. I think that game had it all. You had some miracle moments from both teams, Splyce and Misfits. You had some head scratchers where, you know, things didn't quite align or go to its plan. I'm super excited to see Splyce execute on such a difficult to execute team composition. I think it was much harder to do than just a pretty standard wombo combo where you just throw everything in.
And it was actually very interesting because in the draft, I personally felt that like the Karthus pick could have been one of the problem makers. And while it was definitely an impact, especially in limiting Misfits' decision making, you know, you never want to pick a fight unless you're 100% sure Requiem's not going to kill you. You know, the threat of that. And towards the end of the game, look, Xerxe ended 2-2-10. His team was involved in 17 kills. Just the threat of Requiem and the impact it has on your decision-making cannot be understated.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Xerxe on Karthus, we said he's like the OG, but I have to give it to Humanoid. The amount of times that he stalled out Misfits trying to look for hard engages with the Syndra, hitting the scatter of the week when it mattered. Norskeren, I believe, gobbled up Kobbe as Hans Summer went to find a snipe in that last team fight, repositioning his ADC. Everyone at every point in this game from Splyce stepped up and was that X factor to take them into the conversation of top 4.
It is such a difficult game to break down. That last team fight, for example, inside the base, multiple revives from the Misfits squad, multiple saves from Norskeren, the threats, the disengages. Febiven tried to pull attention from the team, you know, heading north to the top inhibitor, and it's just, there are so many decisions you have to make, and you can't quite see the ripple effect 7 decisions later.
Yeah, and the fact that, again, my praise to Humanoid, the fact that it was him who caught out Febiven when Misfits were sieging with that second Baron, blowing up the Jayce, and then suddenly turning it where Splyce had tempo, had momentum, we're back on offense to run it back up that mid lane.
Yeah. Absolutely fantastic game. We do have some candidates for Kia Player of the Game. The 3 of them are Vizicsacsi, Xerxe, and Kobbe fighting for Kia. It's so tough because like Humanoid Syndra was amazing, Norskeren saves were amazing. Like you could have picked any 3 of the 5.
Chachi was popping off on the Aatrox. He was constantly a threat in those side lanes. I think he got so much solo golden experience to himself. Kobbe with the snipe initially, and Xerxe with Karthus.
The truth is there isn't enough time to probably break down everything in that game because, like you said, it was such a mixed bag of both positives and negatives, or shall we say criticisms, but it was entertaining, and you got to see both team compositions taking turns going rock, paper, scissors, and eventually in the end, it was Splyce that won it out.
It feels like it's a game where watching the tape, I'm not sure how much you get back from it. I actually really just want to see a best of 3 between these two teams because it felt like it could have gone either way at so many different points.
Well, in the battle for 4th, while Splyce won, it's not a definitive answer. Let's hear from Splyce's Xerxe.
Thank you very much, Trevor. I am joined by the jungler from Splyce. Now, I don't think I've ever seen a team lose an Elder Dragon, lose a Baron, lose a bot lane inhibitor, not get a kill, and then somehow still win the game. How on earth did you do that?
That's just the Splyce effect. Like, if you get to late game, as a Splyce team, you cannot lose the game. You can draft 3 losing lanes, losing jungler, but if you get past 30 minutes, you just auto-win the game. Unless you're playing against G2 or Schalke.
Okay.
Then it's 50-50.
It's 50-50 at that time. Okay, I look forward to your next game against G2 then. Last week you went 0-2, this week you went 2-0. Is this the turning point for Splyce? Are you just going to keep on with your winning ways now?
Well, the thing is, last week we played against the 2 best teams in Europe. So it was like hard to win, but from now on like, the schedule should be a bit easier for us. So I expect us to get more wins.
Okay, and do you think coming towards the end of the split that you'll be high in the playoff contention? Do you think you're looking at a podium in this split, or do you think you're sort of middle of the pack?
By the end of the split, I expect us to be like top 4.
Top 4. Yeah. Who else is there with you?
G2 and Schalke for sure, and then the 3rd or the 4th team, maybe Vitality.
Okay, I think that's what a lot of people are saying at the moment as well. I want to talk about next week. It's patch 9.3 with all the AD carry itemization changes. Splyce consistently have been a team that sort of plays around Kobbe, plays around getting towards the late game. Do you think 9.3 will help you as a team?
Well, we're just going to pick Ivan killing Karma, just camp bottom and auto-win the game.
I'm looking forward to it, Xerxe. Thank you very much. We're going to hand it back across towards the desk. That was good, man. That was great.
Thank you very much, Mac. I like it. Xerxe coming out swinging. We make it past 30 minutes, we win. It's just this, it's just the nature of Splyce as a team.
Apparently it is.
And honestly, when we look back at this game, it was a bit of a back and forth affair. It was kind of messy, and I just want to get some initial impressions. We'll take a look back at that final fight in a few moments here. Foxdrop to you first, as Deficio does join us. Hi.
I was about to say, thanks for the intro,
I'm
mate.
so sorry. You have to understand, I spent more time having you as a standard on this desk than I've had having you as a guest. This is the Moose on the Loose. If you don't know who this is, his name is Deficio. He was once a good analyst. Now he's a team manager.
Babysitter.
Yeah, team manager. All right.
Call me whatever you want.
Got it. All right. Well, for now, I'm going to call on Foxdrop. Initial impressions. How did you feel? Splyce versus Misfits. What are your first thoughts?
First thoughts, I think that it's kind of like, this is a game where on the standings, there's going to be a winner and a loser. In my heart, there are no winners. It felt a little bit not... I am not convinced by the performances of Splyce or of Misfits from these two that either of these teams are really taking that next step to kind of break into being a top 4 team like Xerxe alluded to in the interview.
Well, I enjoyed all the back and forth fights. I think there was a lot of really fun moments between... Well, so you're like, oh, Misfits are totally winning this. There's no way they can lose. So was TP's bot lane. You're like, this is great. He's going to take everything. And then they, for some reason, don't manage to end the game there. And Splyce suddenly get a fight. They actually catch out sOAZ, who's been the best player, and take him down before the final one. And it was like such a back and forth in the end that at some point you just have to say, you know what, I don't know who's going to win. It's no longer important. Let's just enjoy individual moments in these different fights and then see who actually makes the big play in the end.
And that's when the Splyce buff kicks in.
And that's when they make the play.
Individual moments. And if we look back at that final fight, and you can see exactly how it unfolded. I like that you point out sOAZ getting caught is so sad for this team overall because this guy was pretty much hard carrying at this entire game, I would argue.
It really sucks because you're in that mentality where you almost get desperate in these kind of games because it's like, yo, I need to carry the team on my back. I've been doing it. It's been working really well. Oh, there's another opportunity. I'm going to do it. But then just backfires completely, and you set your team up for the loss.
But it was kind of weird because there's a lot of fights where when Misfits tried to engage like just head on, around the mid lane especially, they really struggled to actually find like the opening. No one knew who should go in first unless it was sOAZ. Like the middle fight earlier in the game, they also lose, was sOAZ starting it perfectly with the TP flank. He tried to do the same here. Like this, to me, towards the end, felt like a guy who done like 20 great things. Eventually, eventually you must make a mistake, right?
Yeah.
But you have an Alistar, you have a Xerxe, like the Kennen doesn't have to be the guy in the front line to start the fight in this situation here. But I think he wanted, like he had done so many good things. He really needed that last one to work as well to be the big hero. In the end, though, Splyce, and this is the thing they do. They just, I don't know what it is, because they changed so many players and they still manage to be a team where when they go late game, they're really calm in terms of how they're actually fighting. And you notice this one. Engage came in, they instantly called back, they all kite backwards, and they wait for like the correct moment where a snare lands, and then it's go-go, and then instantly they're ready to kill the target. Like, that's just good shot calling late game.
Absolutely, and I think when you have a guy like Vizicsacsi on your lineup and you kind of start a team fight and you know you're going to win, you know that he's a guy that, I mean, spent years on Unicorns a lot, basically like being like, this is how we're going to win the game. So
he's the opposite player there.
Yeah, so now it's like when we see that there's a winning team fight, he's going to go in on that, and it's interesting to me too because it just feels like Misfits seems so disjointed and so scared because you point out that sOAZ beautiful TP flank, we saw it, but it was also Maxlore going in a little bit too early. sOAZ is back here. Hansama's like, I could ult in, but I've decided that this is already botched.
Yeah, he didn't want to ult in a lot.
And it just felt scattered. It just felt a little all over the place. And it's interesting too because I think after Splyce's game yesterday, it's hard to know exactly which form of these teams are going to show up. When we look at the standings now, we're in a weird spot. Misfits were supposed to be this favorite. We're supposed to be this top 4 contender, and now it's very much open. And I'm curious, from your perspective, Deficio, now that your team has had a 2-0 week.
Yes, tied for 5th. There we go.
And you're contesting for these playoff spots. What are your opinions on Splyce and Misfits as teams overall?
I think, as you guys have been saying here on the desk already, it is kind of difficult to fully judge the level of those two teams. I think Misfits suffer a little bit from some of the same issues we maybe have had, where it's a lot of new players being put together, and there's certain things that work extremely well, but you try to do a lot of different things to figure out are there other ways we can actually play the game, and then you realize, okay, this is a little bit harder, maybe due to synergy, communication, whatever it is. In the Misfits case, obviously, it's a story of win bot lane, play through that side, and you normally do really well. They couldn't do that in this game here, so it was just like kind of back and forth team fight fest. And then they're not better than Splyce. They're just kind of the same as we saw in the game. But I think overall, like Misfits, Origin, and Splyce right now all seem to be fairly similar on the day. One is maybe slightly better than the other, but consistently predicting that if we were to play them like for the next 3 or 4 weeks just constantly, it would be really hard to predict who would actually come out on top.
That's like, you're putting yourself out of a top 2, top 3 spot by saying that.
For now, we're in week 4.
All right.
I don't need to be a top 2 team already. I got time.
Yeah, see, well, before the cameras were rolling, this isn't what he was saying, by the way. He was like, yo, we're the best team in the league. G2
in the world.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, what can I say? You're much more timid when you're sitting on the desk. When this camera's turned on.
I did also tell you that we should put up the standings so we could say Misfits, Splyce, and Origin were all in the same.
You just want to remind people. You're like,
so
guys,
I did actually have both in there, just to be sure.
Okay.
But fine. You know what? We can pull Schalke and Vitality into this group as well and say we have 5 teams right now.
I like, you know what?
All fighting for that second spot. G2, they're gone.
Now, before we shift our mentality back, I love that that's what you're focusing on. You're not like, Origin is not going to be a top 2 team, but damned if we're not going to pull Vitality and Schalke down with us.
No, we will be a top 2 team. We're just not right now, and that's fine.
It's absolutely fine, but I think for Misfits, a team that wanted to start higher, and Splyce, who have set their aspirations higher, it is probably frustrating to be middle of the pack right now. But when we look back at this game, one player did stand out. Key player of the game was Kobbe. 42% of the votes. Of course, it was his clutch, deadly flourish that did lead to that sOAZ pickoff that turned the fight in their favor. And it was, as mentioned on the desk, kind of hard to pick a single player as a standout. There's a lot of incredible players in this game. But overall, Splyce, at the end of the day, they got the wins. Both their games very messy this week. But if you're getting the wins, if you're putting them on the board, that's what matters, especially when you look at the race for these playoff spots where 1 and 2 are obviously the dream, but even 3 is a lot more powerful than it used to be.
I mean, we know over the next couple of weeks, standings can change a lot. Like, we saw it already, how close it is between so many. And that's why, again, I don't think there is a single team right now other than G2 who's crying if they're not already sitting in the second or first spot. Because it's all about just, when you go into next week, you're going to have a lot of these head-to-head matches now going into round 2. Where, because we have 5 or 6 teams and potentially Fnatic underneath and SK who's like trying to climb up. Like, these head-to-heads around all those middle-of-the-table teams, like, they're the ones deciding almost everything regarding who gets second place. This reminds me just of last summer split, where like Schalke in the end got the second seed, Actually, they didn't get it because they lost that game to H2K.
No, and the difference now...
They were supposed to get it.
That was...
I thought they got it, but they didn't.
That was an awkward time.
But see, the same thing can happen
but
here.
Yeah, and it's a very close in terms of the middle of the pack, and that's what's exciting when all of those playoff spots are kind of highly contentious in terms of how these teams are going to rank against each other. Now, before we go to break, Foxdrop, I'm curious, some final thoughts from you. How are you feeling about these teams heading into the next week? Is there any one of these three teams that if you're like, they're going to show up next week, they're going to be the confident team to 2-0? Is there any one of those teams that you would look at now?
We're introducing Origin as a third team.
You can, because Deficio is here, we will do him the courtity of introducing
Well,
Origin
it's actually quite a good thing. I'm just going to wheel myself away as I make this point, so he can't, I'm not in fist range. Actually, what I'm actually going to say, though, is I think Origin they're good. Like, Schalke, for me, were... You had G2 who looked untouchable, and then you had Schalke a peg below those, and then you kind of had like the rest of the playoff teams. And you know, Origin, we had such high expectations coming in because they have such great management.
Agree.
And they weren't, you know, just didn't really live up to that. But not only were they able to get the Ws this week, but the fashion in which they did it, especially against Schalke, who is like a top quality opponent, to me that's very good moving into the future.
I'm just happy that the first couple of weeks is where the storyline can be. We expect so much. It didn't happen because of growing pains. Now we get a 2-0 week, and those kind of, you know, narratives will change. And now it's like, oh, things are really working. It's looking great. And that's all that matters, because at the end of the split, no one remembers week 1 and 2. It's all about week 8 and 9 and then going into playoffs.
Very true. And of course, now as we look, the middle of the pack is finally starting to shape up in the LEC, and I think it's an exciting time to be here. We're going to see if anyone else can join in that middle of the pack, because coming up next, we are going to hear from Excel Esports coach Ferndog as he and his team look for a big win against Vitality. Now join us on the Rift when we return.
So let's take a look at this. Another attempt in the mid lane. Remember, Humanoid, very, very good scout of the week and an even better dive. And now the curtain is called and Misfits are running. Devour will need a few more strikes. Requiem simply doesn't have enough damage. Gorilla, that was close! How the hell did that happen?
No eat, no eat.
I move to Jhin. We win this, we win this, we win this. Jhin. Jhin dead.
The Scatcher is really low. Don't kill him yet. He has ulti.
sOAZ will not be able to find a great slicing momentum. No Splyce are split up. Maxlore's already dead, but this could turn badly. Febiven and Summer need to clean the fight up. Requiem gets a full channel. The burst down. That's a GA pop. This was a disconnected team fight from Misfits. Slicing Maelstrom's available. Devour buys some time. sOAZ gets one, but now the 3 members of Splyce turn back around. Febiven is already dead again. He's going to be re-engaged in a second. sOAZ get popped down. Splyce have done it. There's Kobbe, Vizicsacsi, and Norskeren will be waving the